You just flipped a switch. The room went bright. You didn't even think about it. But there are places on this planet where that switch does nothing. Places where your eyes never adjust, no matter how long you wait, because there isn't a single photon of light to adjust to. No afterglow, no starlight, no silhouette, just black. And humans walked into exactly that, voluntarily, tens of thousands of years ago, again and again, even though every step could kill them. This is about caves, hundreds of meters below the surface, where no sunlight ever reached. Places a fully equipped modern caver still approaches carefully. 3 questions hide inside that. First, how did people see anything down there, with zero light source but fire? Second, what did they actually do once they were inside, somewhere nobody could ever watch them? And third, the uncomfortable one, why go that deep at all, when nothing down there could feed or shelter them? The answers go back further than you'd expect, all the way to the Neanderthals. Start with the obvious problem. Deep inside a cave, without light, you are completely blind. Not eyes adjust eventually, blind. Permanently blind, for as long as the flame stays out. In 2021, researcher Maria Angeles Medina Alcaide from the University of Cantabria set out to test exactly how Ice Age humans solved that. Her team rebuilt 3 lighting systems based on real archaeological remains found in caves across southwestern Europe, wooden torches, stone lamps burning animal fat, and small fireplaces. Then they tested each one inside an actual cave in northern Spain, measuring light output, burn time, and where soot collected. The result? Each system had a completely different job. Torches made from bundled sticks threw light in every direction and were easy to carry, perfect for crossing wide, unfamiliar spaces quickly. Fat lamps burned steadily for hours on a single spot, ideal for detailed work like painting a wall. Fireplaces lit and warmed a whole group in one fixed location for as long as needed, and the range of every one of these light sources was brutally limited. Even the brightest torch lit up only a few meters around it. The rest stayed pure black. Whoever walked those caves never saw the whole space, just a small moving circle of light, surrounded by nothing. That means these people weren't grabbing whatever fire was handy. They were choosing their light source by task, planning around its limits. That's logistics, not improvisation. And the earliest solid evidence that humans were deliberately moving through total darkness is startlingly old. Fire traces deep inside Bruniquel Cave in France, 336 meters from the entrance, dated to roughly 176,000 years ago. That's more than twice as old as the oldest modern human ever recorded in Europe. So the lighting problem was already solved, tens of thousands of years before Homo sapiens ever set foot on the continent. But light alone doesn't explain why anyone would want to go that deep in the first place, when everything they needed to survive was outside. Then, in 2026, researchers found something that makes the answer real. Inside a cave in Italy, 14,000 years old, untouched since the last ice age, they found footprints pressed into the soft cave floor, 5 humans and 1 dog. Those 5 people and their dog walked in carrying small burning pine branches, heading toward a spot where absolutely nothing was waiting for them. No food, no shelter, no practical payoff, just darkness, silence, tight passages, and a route back they had to hold in their heads. Researchers treat this as some of the clearest proof that Upper Paleolithic humans deliberately explored deep, fully dark spaces, not to survive, but to explore. Which leads to the more interesting question: what did people actually do once they got there? The most dramatic answer is still Bruniquel. Down there, 336 meters into the mountain, archaeologists led by Jacques Joubert didn't find scattered debris. They found 2 deliberately built rings made from more than 400 broken stalagmites, cut down to similar lengths and stacked into low walls up to 40 centimeters high. The larger ring stretches more than 5 meters across. Inside it, burned bone fragments, traces of fire, deliberately built fire spots, built by Neanderthals, 176,500 years ago, which means long before modern humans ever reached Europe. Neanderthal groups organized well enough to travel deep underground, with zero daylight, zero obvious practical reason, and build something nobody has ever fully explained. That's why researchers still argue about the why. A water store? Unlikely. The location is too remote, too hard to reach. Some technical function? A storage site? No clear logic supports that either. One researcher studying the site even floated a simpler idea. Maybe it was just Neanderthal teenagers, wandering deep underground the way teenagers still do today, just with stalagmites instead of spray paint. The explanation taken most seriously, though, is ritual. A place people went because it was dark, silent, and completely cut off from everyday life, not despite that. That's exactly what connects Bruniquel to the Italian cave, more than 160,000 years later. Both groups could have stayed outside, in daylight, in safety. Both walked instead toward the one place where seeing became impossible. And with them, current research suggests, came something else. Some of the earliest forms of symbolic thinking. Cave paintings placed deep inside the rock, often in spots reachable only with exactly the right lighting technique. Deliberately built structures. Likely the earliest ritual behavior we have physical evidence for. Created not despite the darkness, but plausibly inside it and through it. It's not a coincidence that the hardest to reach, darkest chambers tend to hold the most striking finds, not the comfortable rooms near the entrance. Which raises an even bigger problem. If total darkness was this dangerous and this useless, why did the pull toward it survive across hundreds of thousands of years, and two entirely different human species? Light. Solved. Technique. Solved. Even the way back. Solved, with startling precision, if those footprints in Italy are anything to go by. But the question of why humans kept choosing the most dangerous, least useful darkness on Earth, that one's still open. And the answer probably says more about the human brain than any cave painting ever could. You flip a light switch today, without a second thought. But for tens of thousands of generations before you, that one step from light into total black was a deliberate, planned decision. One that meant building a torch, filling a lamp, and holding the way back in your head, because a single mistake down there meant death. And still, they went. Not because they had to, not out of hunger, not chasing prey. They went because total darkness apparently offered something daylight couldn't. A place with zero distraction, zero observers, zero everyday life. Where plain survival quietly turned into something else. That's the actual twist here. Fire isn't what changed humans. The moment that changed them was carrying that one fire on purpose into a place with nothing left to see, and searching there anyway for something bigger than themselves. The light switch came tens of thousands of years later. The pull toward the dark came first.